Hello. I know it's been a while, but here's a little update of what I've been doing. I've just been playing Blood Bowl for 1.5 years. That's all I've been doing. So I wanted to make a Blood Bowl 2 tier list, and I've also played a lot of Blood Bowl 3. So we may be getting a Blood Bowl 3 tier list in the future. I don't know. I upload super consistently, and that's the only thing that's consistent. Anywho, this is all the Blood Bowl 2 teams, all in their beautiful forms. And I'm with me is a special guest. Introduce yourself, special guest.
Oh, hello everybody. My name is Sindanes. I also have played Blood Bowl for a very long time, since the launch of Blood Bowl 2, which is not the longest time, but it's a long time. It's been a really long time since this game launched.
Oh yeah, and it's a really fun game. Hopefully, just for like content purposes, I see like barely any Blood Bowl 2 tier lists. Like there's only one major one, and then there's like barely any Blood Bowl 3 tier lists. Need to string up interest in the Blood Bowl 2 because the way they have the servers right now, if you don't know, is uh, it's there's so little people that they have it so there's like a 400 second uh, server rewind every time you click on the button to get a game. So you have to essentially wait 400 seconds to play a game of Blood Bowl.
Well,
And
in fairness, that also like prevented stream sniping.
that's 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 true, but stream sniping is not an issue anymore, I don't think.
It because a lot of the like the guys who still do the champ ladder, because a lot of those guys stream now. It is still an issue, but
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna do the tier list. So the first team that we'll be discussing are the Amazon. So the Amazon's gimmick is that every single player on their team has dodge, which essentially means the when you make a block and you get the exclamation point with the little blue fuzz, not the POW, but the POW defender down one. They are immune. They don't not go down. That is not a successful block, which essentially means every defender that's attacking you, if they don't have block, they only have a 1 in 6 chance to actually bring you down. So it's a very strong skill to have on all of your players. And just to explain the roster, they have the line woman, super cheap piece. You get dodge, and you get normal general as your access. So on a single, you get dice, you get your general, and only 50k, and but they have low armor value, but you get dodge. So standard line woman. Then you have the thrower. You get pass. Line woman with pass. That's all there is to it. You get two of those. Catcher. You get catch and dodge. Probably the most useless piece on the team because you already have dodge, and there's no attribute upgrade for the catcher. So there really isn't a real upgrade for using the catcher. You have catch now. You also get agility access, which is a decent upgrade, but on your normals. But still, for 20k more, that just seems like a waste of money to me. People are free to disagree with that. But the strongest piece on, of course, is the Blitzer, which is 90k. But just for that, you have the same attributes as a line woman, but you have Blodge, which is an insane combo in the game. Essentially, if you're facing someone who has not block or dodge or wrestle or any of those disruptor moves, Blodge essentially means when that person attacks, they have a 1 in 2 chance to have a successful block attacking you, and then they have a 1 in 6 chance of being brought down because they can't be brought down by block, and they can only be brought down by a POW. So a super strong early game piece, which is why uh, for low TV values, the Amazon is a really impressive team, and they don't really have that much creep since obviously you're not buying too many positionals that like inflate the value too much. You will have to restock at some points because your Amazons are a little fragile, but super strong low TV value team. I wish that was in Blood Bowl 3 because I think they provide a lot of diversity, especially with all dodge access. It's really cool, and they if they revamp the Amazons because they did in the official Blood Bowl board game, they have like a big person now. Well, they have those Jaguar warriors, but that's off
yeah.
topic. Anyway, for me, I would say Amazon is like a solid B to A tier, just because they're strong and low TV, but they're kind of fragile. But 4 Blodge is nothing to joke about. Sin, what do you think about Amazon?
I'm gonna start off this video in the worst way possible. I'm gonna hate a little bit. Um, some of the best skills in the game are really dangerous against Amazons, i.e., um, i.e., guard, tackle, and wrestle. Guard, tackle, and wrestle are three of the most common upgrades you'll see across almost any team. Um, the reason why those are all good is because they're good against elves, which are much faster than uh, Amazons. Amazons notably have 6 movement across the board, which is not very good. 6 movement is just standard human linebacker stuff. That it doesn't like it. You can play Amazons in a fashion that is very stompy on low TV teams that are trying to get skills like chaos and humans and orcs and stuff that don't have the highest low TV time. And you'll do fairly well. And in the hands of a very new player, Amazon is this like golden egg that's like, I can play Blood Bowl as well. But as you continue to get better at the game, I find that Amazon goes further and further south. And it's not to say that Amazon cannot win. It is just much harder for them because once you get to that point where you're trying to snipe low TV teams, you are also getting sniped by high TV teams that are queuing at weird times. And it just because of the way that the queuing works, you can go up or down. Being more down, like they want to be, tends to have good effects for them, but also they can come up against if they start against a dwarf team, you just X the team out. You just lose. If you start versus dwarves, you just completely kill your roster, restart, try again. You're just going to start off on a loss, which in the champ ladder just is really bad. Not many Amazon teams qualify, just because the team has a really hard time doing its thing. I actually think that the catcher is better than you think, which is my first good thing to say. The catcher for Amazons is notably better than the line woman because for a 20k differential, getting access to agility is very, very strong. Yeah, 20k for agility, I'll pay that for any unit in the game.
I'm actually surprised that Amazons only have the catcher with the agility access. That's actually surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's because they all have dodge. They all have the quintessential agility thing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind the blitzer, getting, gas normals, so then they can have...
Well, they have pretty good normals for them. They have access to strength, which we didn't really mention. Yeah. Strength, they can make really good kill pieces with, piling on and mighty blow, or really good, disruptor pieces with, guard and grab. You shouldn't grab. Grab's funny. Shouldn't grab it. This is part of the reason why they stay so low TV is because they don't have AG access. Because once you get, mighty blow piling on, or guard and mighty blow, you're at a point where you basically don't need anything outside of strip ball and one line woman with kick, and that's just done. You're done with that piece.
So where would you rank Amazon?
I would rank them maximum C.
All right, I'm fine.
It's because they tend to fall below the curve of what is a team that can qualify. And again, other not to jump way far ahead, but vampires way at the tail end. Vampires qualify every year, every season.
Yeah.
And they run into that same issue where they get punched on by the same stuff that happens to elves, and they get punished for that. So there are other teams that do what this team does, just a slightly bit better.
All right, yeah, I'm fine with C. It's first team on the list, so it can be subject to change.
For sure, we'll move around maybe.
Mid to the general setting for Amazon is mid to mid low tier in my
I would agree.
Yeah. All right, the next team is the Brettonians, which is a team also no longer in Blood Bowl 3, which they were replaced by Imperial Empire or whatever they call it, which
Imperial
is
Nobility.
Imperial Nobility. Yep. Which it is a bit of improvement from the Brettonians, because the Brettonians it seems like the team was there, but a lot of it they had no idea. The implementation is a little strange. So just to go over the roster, you have the linemen. These linemen are 40k, uber cheap, come with the skill fend. They only have general access on their single rolls, and they have a lower AV value than what's standard normal human, which is which their stat line would be 6338. You got 6327, which is also lower agility for linemen. So cheap linemen, but you're not gonna see them break any records, and they are kind of fragile. Just to like, here's a side tangent. So 7 AV to 8 AV is a very big difference, just because of how dice rolls work. Because I've been taking statistics a bit. So the difference between getting a 9 or above and an 8 and above is actually 15%, which is pretty significant. So to actually get past the armor value for armor value 9, it's only a 26% chance. But for armor value 7, so 8 or above, that's all the way to a 41% chance that the block will be successful or will make you go into your injury rolls. And once you're in an injury roll, then it's all nothing. There's nothing stopping. There's nothing stopping. So you can be stunned or you can be dead. So there's nothing stopping that. Anywho, back to the roster. Blocker, a very interesting piece. They have the standard human stat line. They have access to strength and wrestle. Honestly, this is a pretty decent piece, especially with the strength access. It's a very useful piece, and honestly, doesn't make it keeps Brettonian kind of relevant, because the next piece is blitzers, and while blitzers have extra movement, super expensive at 110k. You cannot get all your players as Brettonian, which is for a team like Brettonian, you would figure you would be able to get most of your positionals, but no, you have to like wait a bit. They have access to gap, which includes general agility and passing. I have no idea why they gave him passing. I guess because there wasn't a passer there. But you can make one of your blitzers passers, I guess, if you want. But not only that, but their skills are they're a little out there. Block is always good. You can always have those on blitzers. Catch is okay, right? You would hope that you have a maybe better agility with catch, because if you fail to reroll on catch, then you just like end the turn, which is pretty unfortunate. And Dauntless is an interesting one, but as your blitzers have the most movement, I wouldn't normally put your blitzers in a place where they need Dauntless, So interesting skills around across the board. But when you think of a Brettonian team, most of the time, what I would think, you're looking at a C to D tier team. Sin, what do you think?
I once again heavily disagree. I think this is an A tier team.
You're smoking.
Brettonians are hyper consistent, because even their really dog water linemen have fend, which means that they're much more mobile than their nameplate suggests.
Oh yeah,
right?
Fend is a great skill on
their stat line is really deceptive because they're average humans with minus AG, but the AG doesn't matter for them. You're not dodging with them anyway. It doesn't matter. You cannot follow up on them. They're just nope, fuck you. They make you stay there. Blockers are hyper consistent pieces, man.
Yeah, no, I was gassing the blockers. They're good stuff.
The blockers are hyper consistent. And the thing that I think you're underestimating the most is that Dauntless. The blitzers moving about the battlefield with Dauntless allows them to like knock down trees and ogres and shit like that. They're nuts.
Oh yeah, they can, but I would, in my view, they're like more useful like being on the side anyway, so you can actually utilize that movement and get to where the action is, right? Because you have your blockers that are good for handling all the men in the line that they usually put their big guys down.
Just blitzers can be really like they can be a lot of different roles and they can be very versatile. Like a lot of the times I'll go into obviously dodge is my first level up just because dodge, but after that you'll go into like sidestep or strip ball or something. Like there's a lot of roles you can fill with that. Those like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blitzers, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with those. Coupled with the really defensive pieces, like blockers who can get guard and stuff, and mighty blow. Like you have really good pieces on this team. I think this is a hyper consistent team. I would put it like B or A, like strong B, low A, like really low.
I'll ask you this. I know this is like a top tier team I'm comparing to, so that's my basis. But you have 70k rerolls for Brettonians, and you have only 50k rerolls for human. Why would you ever use Brettonian over human?
Because humans tend to have a harder time at lower TV and at higher TV with their matchups. Getting blitzers to do their thing is much easier than getting the human blitzers to do the thing, or the human whatever's, right? You have a more generalist role with the humans, which allows you to do like pretty much anything you want. But Brettonians, as a like mid-level bash team that can also pass fairly well, they're really good. So when it comes to ladder, what they do better is they have easier access at lower TVs to defensive skills, and at the higher TVs they have usually more room to play around with like bloat, which team bloat is a really important factor in how effective your team can be. How many level ups do you need before your team can like coast, basically? And Brettoni hits their stride a little bit faster, I think.
All right. Well, I'll move him up to B, but
At the ultra high TV, like humans scale infinitely. They never stop getting better. Versus Amazon's like just stops immediately. Like they stop being good the second you level.
All right. Well, I'll put him at like B right now.
B is fine. I'm fine with B.
All right. Well, next team is the Chaos Dwarfs. Very infamous team in Blood Bowl. Super strong. So when it comes to the Chaos Dwarves, you have their normal linemen. In this case, they have hobgoblins. Essentially, it's just think of the Amazon lineman, but without dodge. And then there you go. That's the hobgoblin. Then you have the Chaos Dwarf blockers, these are just normal dwarves. These are dwarf blockers. You get access to 6 of them. They have the normal dwarf stats, which I'll read out to you now. They have a 70k cost. They have 4 movement, 3 strength, 2 agility, and 9 armor value. And they have access to general and strength. While they also have a double into mutations, which is a pretty sickly. I hate the thought of a dwarf with claws. That terrifies me. That keeps me up at night. The next unit is the Bull Centaur, which is probably the most infamous part of the Chaos Dwarves. You get a 6 movement, 4 strength, 2 agility, and 9 armor value. The 2 agility brings it down from like a ball carrier, but it has access to sprint, sure feet, and thick skull, with general and strength normal access. And I mean, they don't become the ball carrier, but like at some points you can try to make them the ball carrier, you know? Because
they are 100% the ball carrier.
Yeah. Well, just because of the 2 agility, but like you're gonna try to make them the ball carrier no matter what. And
so,
they're super strong units.
Why they're gross?
Sure.
It's because when you play Chorfs, you fire every single unit that levels up except for your centaurs that are level 7. And your team value is like 1200.
Yeah.
So your Bull Centaurs are the only unit that should have any levels on your team except for the 1 Hobgoblin level that has kick. And then you're done. It's super scumbag. In an eternal format, right, where there's like not seasonal stuff, this team is so filthy. It's like if you're one of those guys, right? You're like in every game you gotta play the meta, and you gotta understand everything about the game and exploit it to the highest level. This is your team. It's so gross. Sorry, go ahead. I couldn't help myself.
No, it's fine. Also, just another note about the bull centaurs. Their lore is super scummy. Like they're literally tortured dwarves that are mutated into like the bull centaur, like the horse things. Like that's so screwed up. That's literally their lore. And then the last unit for Chaos Dwarves is Minotaur. Most of the time, I'll be honest, you do get the doubles into mutations, but the normal Minotaur stats is 150,000 cost, 5 movement, 5 strength, 2 agility, and 8 armor value. It's the first big guy we have seen on this list, which usually what a big guy encapsulate is higher strength values with decent stats, but they usually have a lot of nega traits. And a nega trait is a trait that goes against your player, and your player either has to roll to not fail it, or a bunch of other things. Nega traits are very usually not good, which is why big guys by a lot of sects of the community are looked down upon as like useless blow. And while most of the time I would
there are some very good ones.
Yeah, there's some very good ones, which we will be getting into later. But the Minotaur, in this case, probably is useless blow. You probably won't need a Minotaur for Chaos Dwarves. But all in general, it's a super disgusting team. Low TV, they're strong because dwarves are strong. It's super low TV. High TV, just as Sin was saying, you can really scum it out and keep a low TV and still kick the high TV's butts with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So super scummy team. Really
6 units to the block hole. I'll take it.
Yeah, really strong team though. I probably the first S tier.
Yeah, this is like undoubtedly S as fuck. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. Where would you put him?
S. Like, if not SS, then S for sure. Like, so Chorfs is a team that I will refuse to respect in any degree, and you will never catch me playing Chorfs. But it's worth noting that if you're playing Chorfs like a regular team, like you're, oh, I got a level up on my blocker. Chorfs are a lot worse than they are. Like, if you're scumbagging it, they're SS. If you're playing them regular, they're S. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like level 0 everyone, and then level 7 SS. Best team in the game, super busted. If you're not doing that, they're just S, which is disgusting, to say the least. And I will not respect any Chorf coaches.
All right, well, ready to go on to the next team?
Absolutely. Please get me off of this trash pile.
All right, well, the next team is Chaos. It's without the dwarves. What the Chaos team is made up of is you have the linemen for Chaos, which is the Beastmen, which is the human linemen, 6-3-3-8, but they have access to horns, which gives them a bonus strength when they're blitzing. So the one blitz action you get a turn. If you should always be blitzing with your Beastman, almost always, especially at low TV. So you can get that extra dice or extra strength, so you can get an extra dice and really start punching. And it's good to get levels on your Beastmen, especially when you're leveling up, because what makes Beastmen really strong is their upgrades. They have general, strength, and mutation access all on singles. So these things can get monstrous, and they can get monstrous fast. They have everything they need to be an absolute disgusting monster on the pitch of Blood Bowl. Next is the Chaos Warriors, which many argue is the best piece, the best positional in Blood Bowl. I don't argue that, but many do, and it's not hard to see why. They have 100k cost. Before that, they have an extraordinary base stat line of 5 movement speed, 4 strength, 3 agility, and 9 armor value. So they have an upgraded armor value than most humans. They have upgraded strength with the movement cost, but still keep the same agility, which isn't like most of the other characters that do have strength 4. So they get strength 4 with the agility 3, a super strong piece. Also, with their normal axis, they have general, strength, and mutation. So Chaos Warriors, really strong. And with their growth, they become absolute monsters on the pitch as well. Though they're a little harder to get SPP than Beastmen, just because lower movement value, you feel it. You definitely feel it, and you can't really score that many touchdowns with them. But once you do and you grow them up, man, they're super strong. And a big theme, before I get into the Minotaur, which we already spoke about with Chaos Dwarfs, a big thing about Chaos is that since they had very limited skills in the beginning, they start out, kind of like mediocre. I would say mediocre to like higher starting out. They're still a strong team because their base values are
Oh,
pretty
they're
strong.
like D as fuck. When on their first game, they're D tier shit.
I think they're like C because I think they still have some value just because of their strong base values and they can play defense. Like they're not scoring, but like the classic beginning chaos is you can get those 1-0 victories, not too hard, like not without too much struggle.
Like, so on an even playing field, right? Skill versus skill, TV 1000 versus TV 1000, or whatever starting TV you have, right? They are. It's so much harder for them to win the game than it
Oh
is
yeah,
for the other team.
I'm not arguing that.
Like
Yeah.
going down the line, the only team that has a harder time than them winning the game on their first game. So game one, TV 1000, nobody's injured. TV 1000, TV equal skill. There is one team that is harder than them to win the game. Two. It's Nurgle and it's fucking Khemri. I forgot Khemri was the thing.
No.
Like, it's disgusting.
Forgetting about the Camry. But yeah, they have a Minotaur. He has normal mutation access.
Minotaur on this team is much better than it is on the Chaos Dwarf team. This is where you buy the Minotaur, and he's actually very...
Yeah, because he has the mutation access.
You don't start with him. You do have to pick him up later, which makes his growth a little bit weird.
Yeah,
like,
you have to. Yeah, you have to go 4 Chaos Warriors first, always, because you get enough rerolls with 4 Chaos Warriors, and you want to just start building up the SPP on the.
Yeah, you gotta
on
like
the Chaos
pray
Warriors.
some lucky MVPs and stuff.
Yeah. Anywho,
I like to do like a single pass on all my Chaos Warriors in the first game, even if I lose, just to like make sure that I get
something.
the SPP to get MVP.
No, yeah, passing, like, especially when you're in a scenario like end of half or end of game, you should always go for a pass. Just to get
just in case you get the MVP. He's already level 2, right? You've already
exactly.
you've aced past the initial test. So.
All right, but anyway, going from the weak start, what makes Chaos so notorious is they just because of their incredibly great gross and strong normal rolls, they become one of, if not the scariest teams in Blood Bowl, and so much so, like probably S tier. Like they're late term, but man, late term they're a real not fun to play against because they will claw. They have block. They have claw. They'll have tackle. They'll have everything. They'll rip your team to shreds.
The typical Chaos Warrior is built with claw piling on mighty blow, right?
Yeah.
It's called Clapalm. It's fucked up. It just kills your player. Kill Chaos is so gross. Because they just hunt down your pieces and you can't do anything. You'll just die. You'll win the game. You'll win the game, but you're going to lose out because they're going to murder your best pieces. And then you can't win the next game. So it doesn't matter if you won that game.
Yeah, that's why I think
Chaos teams that get in, they they end up like with these weird records where they play a ton of games.
Yeah, that's why I think the 3 agility is so strong on Chaos Warriors because you can try to screen them, but they can get past the screens pretty easily.
Yeah.
So like you can try to check them. They'll most of the time get past, and that's just your player dead. So wait, where would you rank the Chaos?
Oh, absolutely S tier.
S tier.
Yeah, like so.
Would you put them above or below?
I would put them above.
Above.
Sure. Just because. When I play Chorfs can be pretty killy, but at high team value, I'm not super worried about dying to Chorfs. If I see a Beastman team, I know I'm going to die at high team value. I know I'm going to die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I start planning in ladder. I'm like, am I going to have to scrap my team 16 games in? Like, as soon as I see them come up, like, the Beastman team, I'm like, well, I'm probably not making it out of here. It's worth noting that there are some builds for Chaos that aren't super killy, and they are very fun. So, like, I was talking to you the other day about, like, Tentacle Chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Tentacle Chaos is just fun. You're just, like, Diet Nurgle, and you just do a bunch of, like, you can't dodge, You can't like you have to get stuck with me, and we're gonna be in here, and it's not great,
Oh,
but
yeah,
it is very fun.
a
I've
minute.
had like chaos warriors that could leap.
Yeah.
Leap chaos was fun.
A Minotaur with tentacles. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's with mutations. There's so much access they can go into. Chaos is
The
not a team
Minotaur
to joke about.
has a great nega trait for this team, by the way.
Oh yeah, with
It's worth noting
wild
that the
animal.
nega trait for this team is like just a plus.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my Minotaur better be blitzing or punching. If it ain't,
Yeah,
if it ain't,
I
we
mean,
got an issue.
yeah, like I'm not gonna activate my Minotaur and have him do nothing. Like my Minotaur's getting activated, he's punching somebody.
No, yeah, it makes sense for them.
Yeah, it's great. The Minotaur is a great piece on this team.
Yeah. All right. The next team is the Dark Elves, which is probably my personal favorite for like higher, because I have a personal favorite that's not very good, and we'll be getting into it later. But this is like my higher tier personal favorite. They're essentially, so what Elves teams are based around is every single one of their positionals and linemen. They have 4 agility. Now, what 4 agility means is essentially for all those pesky pickup rolls and all those pesky dodge rolls that you'll be checked by, those are just a 2+. Now, here's the common elf fallacy. It's I only have to get a 2 or above. That means I don't need to roll 1, and I can do it. That's a common fallacy. Do not skimp out on rerolls. A dice only has 6 sides, which means you still only have a 1 in 6 chance of failing the roll. And usually what happens is when you play with elves or playing as an elf or against elf teams, you're usually getting about 20 to 25 dodge rolls in a game, probably more, right? So you're going to fail, like based on statistics, you're going to fail at least 4 of those.
You're getting way more than that, by the way.
Getting way
In like a high
Oh yeah, and dodge dodge rolls, yeah.
You're
You're
getting
getting more
like 40.
exactly. So it's gonna happen. So like, just because you're elves, and you know you have the high cost positionals and you think you can do everything, do not be fooled. Don't skip out on rerolls, or enough will come for you. Anywho, the actual team, the Dark Elves. So the theme I was talking about is usually they have the agility trait. They have 4 agility. But they usually have a lower armor value. Except Dark Elves turns it on its head and say, you know what? Let's keep the armor value the same. So their linemen are just the human linemen, but with 4 agility. And actually, for only 10k cost, that's really strong in my opinion. Only 10k more, and you have an entire agility point, which usually, I mean, what if you add an agility point to your character? It raises TV value by like 50k, like usually. Like
it's more than that, I think. But
yeah, it's like, so you're getting so much value with the extra agility point. So even just the linemen of elves, they're super strong. You could probably win a lot of games with just linemen with any elf team. Anywho, their actual positionals, the runner. Difference between this runner and the runner in Blood Bowl 3 is with Blood Bowl 3, they separated the passing accuracy and the normal agility traits, which nerfed a lot of the Dark Elves and normal elves, but they somehow got a buff for their passing, so they're a lot more useful in that game, just wanted to point that out. But essentially, you get a lower armor value with extra movement than a normal lineman, and you also have access to passing. And you get the unusual skill Dump Off. Dump Off is very unique. Because people will try to justify it, it's pretty useless. Just because dump off essentially means while a block is happening, you can dump it off and like try to throw it. But you're gonna get throwing penalties anyway, so honestly, it's a waste of time, in my opinion. Assassins, also another waste of time. I know I gush on about the Dark Elves, but Stab is such a joke ability for any team that has a decent armor value. Shadowing is good. I mean, if you want a shadowing blitzer that has lower movement than your other blitzers and then doesn't have block, then yeah, you can have that. But like, I personally would never use assassins. Now, here's where the team gets really good. So the linemen themselves are incredible just because they're elf linemen, but their blitzers and witch elf positionals are really hard hitting. So for the blitzers, you get extra movement and you keep the same armor value and you get a block. which is you block starting out block is great, and you get 4 of these guys. So you get 7 movement with block with the 4 agility, and you get 4 of them. I mean, these things. By the way, all these players have general and agility normal access. So you get Blodge right off the bat once you get the upgrade, and you get 4 of those pieces right out and upgrade or whatever you want. Blitzers, they're disgusting. Witch Elves are also strong. I think the Blitzers are kind of like the workhorse. The Witch Elf are like the topping, you know? Witch Elves, you trade out 1 armor value instead of the Blitzers, and they cost 10k more, but instead of block, you get Frenzy, Dodge, and Jump Up, which is a very interesting conversation. Frenzy is a very it's kind of it's useful, but it's useful in a role in its own role, right? You got to be careful how you use it, but it can disrupt many things if used properly. Dodge is always a great ability, probably one of, if not the best ability in the game. And Jump Up is a really good ability for them because whenever they get knocked down, you can jump up with maybe sometimes if you're blocked around, you have to do a roll, but you jump up and you get all your movement back, and that's just nice. And also, if you're knocked down and you have a good block you can do, you can also jump up, and without having to blitz, you can jump up and do the block. So jump up's actually very handy. So the entire team is super strong. In my opinion, they have 6 positionals that far exceed many other positionals. And since it's just an elf team, I'd probably put Dark Elves in S tier as well, but lower S tier, as there are definitely better elf teams and better teams out there than Dark Elves. But essentially,
I disagree slightly. I want to put them in A tier.
A tier. I mean, I'm fine with that. Like they're like they're
like quintessential A tier, like severely above average. But like when it comes to like the competitive sense, right, where it's like, am I picking this elf team over Chorfs or Chaos ever? No, unfortunately. And it's not because they're not busted. They're super good. It's worth noting that the linemen on an elf team are always the best unit. Like, just in general. And it's not to say that, like, their other pieces aren't quite literally better. But what I mean when I say, like, this is the best unit on their teams is that to say that their lineman is their best unit is to say that any unit on their roster can win the game.
Yeah.
Like, dude, with 4 AG, you could just catch the ball, or dodge, more accurately, dodge out, pick up the ball, and run into the end zone, and you just win. You just win with your lineman. Like,
yeah,
there is a real world out there where you pick up 1 witch elf, 4 blitzers, and all linemen, and you ignore the second witch elf, and you ignore all the runners and the assassins, and you're just great. I agree with you. By the runners and assassins are fucking, but you know, what are you gonna? The only time assassins are useful are in a closed league that is small. So, like, for example, like a 7 or 8 week league with like 30 people, right? So, like, if you're, I don't want to like name any names, but there's like a very popular creator out there who's ran their own Blood Bowl 2 leagues for years. The assassin is perfect for those, because you come in on week 1 and you just like, bang, your Saurus is dead, and they're like, I don't have infinite games to get my Saurus back. I'm fucked. And so that's where assassin comes in. But like, other than that, no. Like, I'm not buying the assassin for when I do champ ladder. I'm not buying the runner when I do champ ladder. It's just blitzers, 1 witch elf, and lineman.
That's my normal.
Sometimes
that's my normal lineup too. The 1 witch elf, blitzers, and lineman. Yeah, that's my normal lineup. So
sometimes later I'll pick up a second witch elf, feeling like Frosty. But like, I don't typically do that. I pretty much just stay like, I'll get like an extra lineman or 2 because they're pretty cheap. 70k for a lineman's pretty cheap for elves. Elf lives, worth noting that unlike other teams, elf lives are really expensive.
Oh yeah.
They're just worth more.
You will, I mean, and you'll also be, I mean, you wouldn't, I classically have to. Yeah, I mean, you always have to. Like, it's almost good that you get loners because like
Yeah,
that's you put those guys on the front line and let your other guys do what you need to do
yeah.
because like you
So
need someone to die for you.
for elves, not so much dark elves, but for normal elf, any other elf, right, that has AV7. This goes for all AV7 teams. Your first game is the only game you'll ever have all your players.
Yeah.
You're always going to have a journeyman when you play like AV7 teams, and that's okay because those guys exist to die. Fuck them.
Yep.
That's really all I had to say. Like, I think that the AV plus on some of these units can be very key. Uh, and they trade off the movement, unfortunately, on those linemen. I would have rather had a strength neg. I'm not gonna lie to you,
Hmm.
but the movement neg is workable, and I think that the dark elf lineman is a very, very good.
All right.
So I think high A, because if you look at the other guys we're gonna place in S and SS, they're not like, I'm not picking dark elf over those teams, and in fact, I'm not picking dark elf over any other elf team.
All right.
So,
All right.
you
Well,
know,
Dark Elf at A tier. And with that, we end part one of this Blood Bowl 2 adventure. See you guys next time.